Good afternoon, guys. It's Sharon, and I wanted to do the next lesson, laying out all of the supplies that you're going to need, specifically for painting your doll. I will go through when I'm actually painting my doll, but I wanted to prepare you for everything you're going to need to start painting your doll. So, got everything all laid out here, and this is what I use to mix my paints in. This Pyrex dish. I bought this paint palette from Bountiful Baby and I don't like it. I like to mix up bigger batches of paint, so I like to use a Pyrex glass bowl. They do make these palettes in ceramic, which are a little bit better. Dolls by Sandy carries them, so I would recommend them. And these are the famous cosmetic wedges that you can get anywhere. And this is the plain one right here. And this is the one that I used a pointy tweezer to tweeze holes. This is for your mottling, when you're doing mottling. And I recommend these little wooden stir sticks because sometimes you just want to get a little bit of the paint out of the jar, which I'll go through in a minute, and you want to use your brush to brush it into your bowl. So these are kind of good to do that. Just kind of scoop it out with the wooden sticks. Now, I am demonstrating Genesis in this series. I did go back to Genesis from air dry for a while because I have a new wave oven which allows me to bake my paints outside, which I highly recommend. I don't recommend you breathing in the fumes from baking vinyl and thinners and paints in your kitchen oven. No, not by any means. So I mix my Genesis paints with, this is the thinner that I use. This is Odorless Paint Thinner by Mona Lisa, and I get mine at Michael's, and it comes in this size 32 ounce jug, and I pour it into this smaller little thing here and use that because it's easier to work with. Okay, so these are some of the brushes that I use, and I'm going to go through each one with you. I have a little pointer here. This is a mop brush. It's a 1/2 inch mop brush, and it's excellent for mixing your paints and applying your paints to either the cosmetic wedge or directly onto the vinyl, which we will go through when I start actually painting. This brush is called a rake brush, and you can use it for painting hair. I have used it once, and it's not really good for detailing the hair, the little fine baby hairs, but it's good for a starting out pattern. This is a fan brush. A fan brush is used for gluing the inside of the eyelashes if you're rooting eyelashes on a closed-eyed baby. So that's what that's for. This is just a nylon brush that I like sometimes for the creases. And then this is a foam elf smudge, makeup smudge brush, which I have not used yet, but I'm going to try using it for smudging the pooled paint in the creases, if the pool paints in the creases. This brush is excellent for blushing, blushing the knees, the elbows, the toes, the fingers. It's kind of like a mop brush. It's the same kind of material as the bigger mop brush, but smaller. It's a natural bristle. And then these are various script liners. Now I will use this tiny one here for the nail tips, and sometimes I will use this one for eyebrows. But I've just purchased this long bristle brush I purchased that at Sally's Beauty Supply to do the hair with, and also probably the eyebrows. It was pretty expensive. I don't usually spend like $9 or more on one brush, but I thought it was worth it because the ones that I was using previously were from China, and they were very flimsy and they kind of fell apart. The bristle came off of the brush. So yeah, I figured it was worth the investment. And then these brushes, these are nylon craft brushes, and I was using these to apply the paint directly to the vinyl in some instances, but that was more for my air dry. I haven't really used that technique with Genesis until I get to the latter layers of paint. So now I'm going to go through what else you're going to need. You're going to need some toothpicks, wooden toothpicks, because sometimes you will get lint and little black spots or little fuzzies that you don't want to be on the vinyl, and these are good to flick off little spots. And you can always go over it with the cosmetic wedge if you take some of the paint off with it, but I always recommend these toothpicks. They come in handy for various different things. Applying eyelashes to open-eyed babies, I use these. I use these sometimes for fine little red spider veins in the eyelids. So yeah, so toothpicks, a definite must. And this is the medium that I use. It's actually a Genesis product, and I have learned that the matte varnish, the thinning medium, and the thick medium are actually the same product, only in different consistencies. Matte varnish being the thickest, thickening medium being the next thickest, and thinning medium meaning the thinnest medium. And I like to use this as my final coat to matte the baby, but we will go over that when we're actually painting. So I just want to let you know that you're going to need some of that. And these are some of the colors that I use with Genesis. I'm going to go through each one and what I use them for. These are the essential two for starting your flesh layer. The one on top is Flesh 08, and it's a typical light Caucasian color that I like to start with a lot of times. That's the color. And if I want to make my baby a little bit deeper in color, maybe later on if you find the baby is just too pale and it needs a little more color, or if you want to even mix a little bit of this in with the Flesh 08, this is what the Flesh 07 looks like. So if you compare it to the Flesh 08, you can see that it's quite a bit darker. The lower the number in the flesh, the lower the number, the darker the color. So, okay, so that's those. And you're going to need vein blue. You can also use phthalo blue, which is PHALO blue. There's a few other different blues that Genesis offers. You can use any one of them, but this is the vein blue. It's a little bit muddy, kind of, for your veins, of course. And this is dioxazine purple 04, and you can use this to make the eyelids purple, or you can also buy what's called eyelid purple. But I like a little bit deeper of a purple, so I bought this one. But you can get the eyelid purple as well. You can mix this color with red to get a little bit more of a reddish purple color. Yeah, so that's the one that I like for my eyelids. And this is yellow ochre, and I like to mix this as a warming layer. And sometimes I'll mix it with red. Here's the red. This is what the red looks like. It's just called red. There's different reds also. I think there's crimson red, there's all different kinds of red, but I just ordered the red because I can mix my own colors to obtain the kind of color that I want with the colors that I currently have. So the yellow ochre is to make your baby warmer in color. And speaking of warm color, this is yellow, and I use the yellow on the very bulb of the baby's nose and a few other places, but very, 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 very faintly, very, very watery. So that's what I use the yellow for. And you can also use it to mix with other colors to arrive at a color that you want, like red and yellow mixed together makes orange. So if you have a baby that's coming out too gray and you don't want to buy orange, you can make your own, mixing red and yellow. Okay, the red is obviously also used for blushing. You can mix it with the purple to give it a more baby-like look. You can mix it with the blue to get a more of a purplish look. Yeah, it's very, very useful. And they also make a product called nail tip, which is used for tipping the little skinny fingernails. Yeah, that's the color I use for that. It's actually called nail tip. This one is called warm blush, and you can not only use it for the creases and the blushing, but you can use it as another warming layer. It's a very brick-like color, so if you want to mix it, it's good to experiment to see what kind of color that you like. So I like to experiment with colors. Yeah. So then here is another, a little bit deeper. It's called raw sienna. It's another warming layer, another darkening layer that is a little bit deeper in color than the yellow ochre, as you can see. It's just deeper. It's another warming layer. So, okay, that's that. Let me move on over. Hope you're understanding this. I hope you're getting this and hope you're liking this. These are the three colors I use for painting the eyebrows and painting the hair. We have ethnic brow, we have brown, brown, and we have Mars black. And I find what happens is if you mix black with brown, you're going to get a greenish color, which you definitely don't want. So you need to mix either a blue with it or a red with it, and just play around with it to get rid of the green color. So yeah, you're going to want to experiment with mixing brown and black together. I just ordered, here's the brow brown, which when you put it on the baby, it actually looks like light brown, almost blonde hair, believe it or not. It's hard to understand that, but it's true. So I ordered this color, ethnic brow, which is deeper. I haven't used it yet, but I'm going to experiment with that to see if it comes out to be a darker brown, a deeper brown. So you and I are going to be experimenting together. I think that's kind of cool. This is called Lip Nail Blush, which is exactly what it is. I use it to blush the fingernail beds. I use it for the lips, and it's a great color for mottling and even creasing and mixing with it if you want to. This is what the color looks like. It's actually a very cherry kind of color, which I love. It's a cherry red. I use that a lot. That's one of my favorite colors. And these two, these are neutralizing colors. Let me move it away a little bit so you can see it a little better. They're the greens. The Earth Mint is a very light minty green, which is great for neutralizing orangey kits, which is what the kit that I showed you bathing it. Sandy by Sheila Michael is going to need a neutralizing layer. So I'm probably going to mix the earth mint with phthalo green 06, which is a little bit greener. And sometimes if you want to hasten the process a little bit and you don't want to do as many coats of neutralizing, you can use a little bit of this with the earth mint and get a more dramatic effect. So that's basically it, guys. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful for you. I've gone over the brushes that I use. I've gone over what I mix my paints in. I've gone over how I mix them. I use a mop brush with, and I will put the paint, I will scoop the paint with the wooden stick out of the little jar and then brush it into this bowl with the mop brush. And the toothpicks are good for flicking off unwanted debris. I use this little squeeze bottle to store my Mona Lisa odorless paint thinner, which you're going to need to mix with your Genesis paints. And these are the thinning mediums that I use for the final matte coat, and we will go over that. And I'm going to do an experiment and try mixing a little bit of that in with my first flesh layer, because I think it'll give it a little more body. Because you'll find that the very first layer of paint that you apply to the vinyl will have a tendency to bubble and pool and streak, and the vinyl is going to want to be a little resistant to the paint, so I think this might help. So I'm going to try that with you guys. Okay, and I have gone over the cosmetic wedges that you're going to need to apply the paint to the vinyl, and you're going to need tweezers with a slant point to pluck out holes in your sponge for the mottling layer. And I have gone over all the different colors, oops, of Genesis paints that I use and for what purpose. So I get the small jars. Yeah, a little goes a long way, folks. A little goes a very, very long way. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. And stay tuned, because I think the very next video is going to show you guys how to apply the first layer of paint on your kit. And I'm going to need to set up my tripod for that, and not sure if my nursery is going to have adequate lighting for it yet or not, but we will see. Okay, so, and I have to also psych myself up for starting another reborn, and you'll know what I mean. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of tedious work. It's all consuming to me, and hours go by and I get really tired. So a good tip for people that are overachievers like me is to set a timer and only work in like 20-minute intervals. So yeah, I'm going to probably take that advice so that I don't tax myself too much. But anyway, okay. So hope this was helpful. If it was, comment below. Love to hear your comments, and thumbs up if you liked it. And I will see you guys soon. Love you guys. Bye.